everybody. It's time to talk antiques one more time. And we've got a really interesting show for you today. We have Ray's not going to be with us today, and David's out sick. He's got a little virus, which I guess most of the people in town have right now. But we do have John Hirschman with us, and he's always interesting to talk to, and he's got us a really good show on silver coins, and he's going to educate us on collecting and value, and he's going to give us a good history of some of our coinage, what's collectible and what's not. So with that, John,
well, I'm
going to put it right in your hands.
That's fine. Are you sure? You sure David's not out on the campaign trail, not trying to run for mayor again?
I think David is probably sitting outside just listening to us and laughing.
Well, he may be. No, I talked to him yesterday, and he didn't think he'd make it because he was under the weather.
He didn't sound good when I talked to him last night.
I'm glad he didn't bring it in here and share it with us.
Yeah, I don't want it. I've already had it.
Yeah, well,
we're probably all.
I'm going to stay away from you guys then, because I've been
I've been in
good shape here lately.
All right.
I was going to talk about some entry level, how to collect or get started, and a little bit of history of mainly silver dollars. And our first silver dollars that were used back before we were even a country primarily came from Spain. They were pieces of 8, and one thing they did is in the old shipwreck coins, most of those were they called them reels, and that's another term to use for pieces of 8.
A reel.
A reel, and they were usually you could have gold and silver was a lot of times the sunken treasures, but
right.
Now, when you say reel, John, are you talking about one piece, multiple pieces, or what are you speaking about?
It would be a thin wafer coin, and a lot of times it was so thin that if they were paying a debt or a bill, and it was less than the say they had a piece of 8 was a dollar, and they owed a quarter or a nickel or a dime, they would physically cut off part of that silver to pay that debt.
I wonder how many barroom brawls broke out over somebody paying their bar tab saying, "Oh, I need a bigger piece."
Well, probably by the time we were into the barroom part of it, England, the all your pence and all your English coins were here also, but primarily for the silver dollars, it was the reals. And so that was what I was going to talk to you today about. And see, the U.S. didn't start. The colonies printed their own money. Each state made their own money, paper money and coins for several years after the American Revolution. Then in 1790s, 1790 about 5 to 6, somewhere in that range, the colonies started printing their own as a U.S. currency. The U.S. Mint started minting coins, and our first silver dollar that was minted was in 1794. It was between 85 and 95% silver. They claim it was closer to 90, but I don't know how accurate they were. They were pretty accurate, but so say it's right around 90%, but it was a little less than 90%.
Now I wonder, John, when these states were minting their individual currencies, did they have any standardized unit of measurement?
It's a good question.
Yes, in a way they did, which the first silver dollars, they tried to standardize everything, and and the reason why they standardized a lot of those coins, especially the silver and the gold coins, were standardized. Whether it was a quarter, 50 cents, whatever they were doing, is because they traded with everybody. They traded with other countries, and that way you were getting, if you traded a U.S. silver dollar for a say Austrian, you were going to get silver for silver.
Right.
You're not going to get shorted. So the governments, it was to their advantage to standardize as fast as they could. And so all the coins that were out there at that time were fairly well standardized. So our first one was it was a flowing hair dollar, and flowing hair dollar, and it was a woman from the bust up, with long flowing hair, and so that's where it got its name. If you happen to have one in your pocket,
let me check real quick.
They made 1,700 of those coins.
That's plenty.
In 1794. And if you've got one, the price ranges anywhere from $120,000 up to roughly $1 million.
Ooh, I need to run home and look at my change jar.
one coin if you happen to have it. Yeah, but now the one that's at $1 million is a graded MS 63, and that, I guess that's the best coin that they had during the period, because their stamping process wasn't all that great either.
The best in the world.
No, and then we went from through about 3 different women's bust with the hair, and then we hit U.S. trade dollars. Remember, I told you they standardized currency. Well, we put out 2 different silver dollars at the same time. One of them was mainly to go overseas, and it was a seated trade dollar was seated, and the woman is looking to the left. And the one that was printed primarily for the U.S. was the seated dollar, and she was looking to the right.
So that's how you know the difference if you happen to be.
Whether it's a trade dollar or a regular U.S. currency dollar, they both would use for the same thing, and they got mixed, I'm sure, a lot.
That's an easy way for a novice like me to tell the difference.
Yeah, and books and pamphlets, all that'll help you in that, and the internet, on eBay all the time. They'll nail down exactly what values are.
Is there a value difference between the trade dollar and the regular dollar? Much?
Not much.
Okay.
Not much, and the value of it is the grade, whether from good to extra fine, and I've gone through trade dollars before, and we looked those up and everything, and so we move on. Then we start our government in 1878 started printing Morgan silver dollars, and that's the ones that I really like, and I personally,
that's the ones that I'm familiar with.
And I personally,
one of the only ones.
And I personally collect those, and then in they're 90.
I happen to be familiarizing them from talking to you.
They're 90% silver, and then you go to the peace dollar in 1921. Now in 1921, the Morgans and the peace dollars overlapped each other in production. They produced them both at the same time. More Morgan dollars than peace dollars. So some of your peace dollars are worth quite a bit of money.
Because
on lower production. I'm probably the S. I can't remember if the peace dollar come in an S or not. I think it did, and it's a $5 coin.
I think this is like we were talking about last week. This is one of those things that's always going to hold its value.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you stay on the collectible side of it versus the token or the commemorative side.
Right.
And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little bit. And then they moved, the peace dollars quit making those in 1935. And nobody made any silver dollars until 1971, and they made an Ike Eisenhower
Really?
dollar.
I didn't realize that there were no
No,
silver dollars.
so all the silver dollars out there were the same silver dollars that maybe people on Boot Hill was playing card games with. You know?
Yeah.
And those silver dollars were no telling how many times they'd been circulated by the
True,
up into
true.
the 20s, 30s, and 40s. You know, silver dollars were everywhere. And when I first started collecting, you know, silver dollar was worth about $3. You know, so
could buy 'em
I could buy them in
inexpensive.
I could buy them in bulk, you know, for $3 a piece.
I
when I
try to
first
do that
started.
nowadays.
Yeah, and so then you went from the Ike coin was it was a copper nickel plated
Right.
coin. Then the Susan B. Anthony's come out. They didn't come out until 79 through 99.
Yeah.
I
and
remember
they
those.
were copper nickel.
Yeah, those didn't last long.
And then you got the Sacagawea coins, and they're a magnesium, copper nickel clad, and so that brings us all the way to the Liberty silver dollars, and that's where I was headed with this thing, because they're all right.
So I'd say, do we need to go ahead and take a good commercial
We're
break here?
commandos, folks.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we come back then. Stay tuned for more Let's Talk Antiques. You're listening to Thunder Radio.
Hello, I'm Pick and Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking!
My name's John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
All right, y'all, we're back, and we've been talking about early coinage, and John's been starting slowly from the beginning and bringing us up to date as he goes, and we're talking about the Liberty coins right now, and I'll just let you pick up right where you left off, John.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, the Liberty coins, Walking Eagles, Silver Eagles, silver dollars. They started minting those in 1986 again, but they didn't put them out in regular circulation.
So there was a large gap in between there.
And for a long time, you could go to the banks had them. Everybody had a lot. There was a lot of them. They were out, but people didn't use them for very much for
When I was
dollar
a
for
kid,
dollar.
my grandparents were always pulling them out of their change and stuff. And every time I'd see one, I'd say, "Oh, can I have that? Can I have that?"
Regular silver dollars.
Oh,
yes. And those were primarily the peace dollars.
Now, I wanted because it was $1.
Right.
Back then.
It was $1, but
Yeah.
it was a piece. It was the peace dollars. And when they started doing the liberties, the U.S. Mint all of a sudden discovered they could make a lot of money by marketing these coins as collectibles rather than as U.S. currency. So, and they've got so many ways to market a single silver dollar that it's unimaginable. And that's one of the things I was going to talk to you today about. And if you had any questions, just stop me. And
I'm going to have questions.
Go on.
Yeah.
All right. And primarily, the best way to find out to buy a coin is to start with is through the U.S. Mint, and you can get on mint.gov. I think it is.
Govmint.com.
Is it dovemint.com?
Govmint.com. Capital G in Gov, capital M in Mint.
You can get on it. They'll have their sales that they're doing. They'll have pictures of whatever you're interested in. They like to sell a lot of tokens, coins, and I was going to wait till the end to talk about token coins, but if I was telling anybody young, old, whatever, I'd stay away from them. They're going to be worth the amount of the silver. Most of them are made out of silver. Some of them are made out of gold with the U.S. Mint. But they're commemorative is the term they used. You want to stay away from commemorative, and you want to stay away from clad.
Clad.
Clad will get you every time.
What does clad mean?
Clad means they've got a thin amount of gold or a thin amount of silver as they can put on a piece of nickel.
They're barely clad, Bill. I guess you know what that means.
Yeah.
They're barely clad. That would be a way of thinking about it.
You said that when you order that, they sent us out these nice little brochures, which are really handy.
Yeah, if you don't have access to the computer, or even if you do, once you buy from a coin from the Mint, they will give you a lot of booklets, pamphlets, and if you read them, there's a lot of history built into those. They'll explain why certain coins were made. They'll explain the difference between coins, like they have high relief, burnished. They'll have all kinds of terms for different looks of the same coin. It'll be minted, say, in Philadelphia, be maybe 2018 coin, but they'll market that 2018 coin at least 7 or 8 different ways.
Yeah.
And it'll have, and if it's graded, then when you get into the graded, you can get them signed by the chief engraver.
And you said there's only been just 13?
There's 12 up through, and I don't know if it was this year or last year, they brought on another engraver to take the place of the 12th engraver of the United States.
So in the whole time they've been doing this, that's all we've had.
Yeah, there'll be 13 of them.
Yeah,
Wow.
and if you buy the coin, these magazines are worth, a couple $3, if you bought a little magazine in a store, it's going to cost you $2 or $3.
You can use the magazine as a guide too when you're on eBay, and sometimes you can find it a little lower than the U.S. Mint on eBay, but that's brokers that have bought maybe $100,000 worth of at one time, and the government gives them a discount.
Okay.
So if you see them cheaper, that's why, and you can find them, or it's somebody that just is trying to get rid of their collection, and they're not.
They need the money.
They need the money, and it's going to bring below the money. So when you get on eBay, that's what you're looking for: somebody that's trying to dump it, and they're not holding it for fair market
What about
value.
reproductions in those, or is that
The reproductions
common
are not.
thing or not?
No, they're not very common in these. The top end of these coins primarily is about, if you got one that was signed by the engraver and slabbed, which a slab is a graded a graded coin that's MS-70, it'd run you about between $100 and $150. That's max. So most of your counterfeiting wants something like, on up there where they can actually make some good money.
Right.
Yeah.
But they do have one. They do have one silver eagle that I don't have. I've got them all. I've got them all but one. And when I started looking at this coin, it was about $2,000. So I didn't get in. If I'd have got in at the very beginning, that coin would have cost me, I think, $50.
They must be extremely hard to find right now if you don't have one.
Very, very low mint. And so if I would have been buying them from the mint every year, I would have had this coin. And right now, that one coin can go anywhere from, it'll take $5,000 to buy it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That'd be
so that would have been a really good return on your investment.
Right?
That was 95, yeah. Okay. It's a 95W, which is West Point, and we're gonna get in. Okay. We just will go into that now.
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Philadelphia makes coins, and they're plain. They don't have a mint mark on them normally, and that would be a P.
Okay.
West Point is producing coins, and that's got a W on it. San Francisco's making Silver Eagles, and that's got an S on it. And that's your three different ones they're making. They didn't make W's in some years, and they didn't make S's in some years. So you kind of you have to do your research
to know which
years they didn't make them. Then the problem you have, unless you get it graded, and I've got some of those here. When you get it graded, it'll tell you the West Point Mint. Well, the West Point Mint doesn't necessarily mean it has a W, an S on the back of it. They just know because the graders were there and they graded the coins right after they were made, and so they have they didn't put a letter on them.
You get them back in these nice little cases with holograms on them.
They're certified and registered that they came from that mint, but they don't have it. And same thing with San Francisco. So you got them graded and registered that they're stamped in San Francisco, but you don't have an S on the back of them. And so after I discovered that there are coins out there that do have S's on them, I went after the ones that had the S's and the W's. After I thought I had collected,
all the versions.
You found out there's another one.
Yeah.
So yeah, you gotta have that one.
So there's S's and W's in the same. There's a W on that, and a lot of times the S's and W are on what they call the high relief, and if you look at that, it's a real bright, beautiful coin, and I like those. And see, that's West Point Mint. So I've showed you some that are slabbed, that are certified and authenticated that they came from the mint, and I've showed you some that actually have the mint mark on the back.
These examples that you're showing us here, they almost look like brand new coins.
Well, they are. Yeah. When you get MS-63 or 70 or MS-70, that's as clean as a coin as you can possibly get.
Mm-hmm. These are really
now,
nice
just
coins.
A question. I know that of course, obviously the coin has to be defect free, but the cases. Do you need to keep the cases from getting scratched up? Does that affect anything for
not
some collectors?
Not the coin itself, but
it's not like you can swap it into another case.
So if they've been tampered with.
They
have holograms in them.
They have holograms in them. They've got bars.
Barcodes,
barcodes to read it. All of them that are graded have barcodes that are authenticated.
So you're not going to be opening these up and fiddling with them after they've been graded.
No, and so I've already talked about if you got West Point, you got two different kinds of West Point coins. One's with and without the marking.
Yeah.
Philadelphia's the same way. San Francisco's the same way. So right there, if you were collecting 1 year, you've already got 6 coins if you wanted to try to collect them all.
For that year.
Then they came out with different shades.
Oh, okay.
They some of them are they call them varnished. They're you can look through the book there and it'll tell you. Some of them are high relief, and so they came out with 2 or 3 different versions of that.
When you say high relief, John, are you talking about the letters?
The ones that are look like a mirror finish.
Okay.
You know, the West Point there is a mirror finish.
Yeah, that's why
coin.
they
And then you've got regular finish, mirror finish, and you got this burnished, which is almost like a fog.
It'll be a duller coin.
A duller
looking coin.
So you got those 3 different looks. Then you've got, in addition to that, the engravers get in there and they sign the mint, where they've had them graded. They'll sign on their signature on the grade.
That's really neat. That'd make it a lot more desirable.
Well, it does, but if you look in the back of the coin on the right hand side of the tail feathers is the mint engraver's initials. So he's got those on there also.
Oh, cool.
And and now we've got I think we have a female Jones, and I don't remember her first name, that's going to be the next mint maker.
Okay.
So that kind of gives you a good overlay of some of the different varieties, and there's a few more than that.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to tell you what. This is really interesting, and if you'll hold that thought, we'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Pickin' Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking.
My name's John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
All right, we're back, and I hope you held that thought and not your breath. Okay, we're back with John.
Okay, I had a question for John. Is one of these says it's first strike, 1 of 1,000, and that doesn't mean that that's the very first coin made. It just means it's the first run.
That was a very good question,
right?
because that cleared something up for me,
real good
too.
question, because usually they don't put 1 of 1,000 on when they authenticate when they grade the coin, they authenticate it, and then they grade it. So you can have an MS-63, MS-70, but usually if it's first strike, it's one of the first 1,000 that the dies have struck, and that's the most perfect coin you'll get. Almost always those are an MS-70 coin.
Because those guys wear after they
wear, yes, and so
towards the end they're not going to be as.
So that's
nice,
another thing
pristine.
another way that the government markets the coins is they do first day releases.
And I think I saw one of those.
I got a couple first days. I got some first strikes, and then I've got the regular loose the regular loose ones, and the loose ones is what would come. They're still certified authentic and everything, but they're not in a slab. The government will send them to you in a plastic folder.
Now, I would ask, why would you get one that's just loose in a plastic folder instead of slabbed?
Well, I give them away as Christmas presents.
Oh, okay.
And so I'll buy maybe 10 or 15, and if I want David to have one, I'll give him.
You know I'm going to be calling you next Christmas now, don't you?
Well, there you go. And then for my kids, my kids every year, I give them a slabbed, or a one that's been graded, which is the same term for a graded coin. And so we've talked about a bunch of ways the government markets these things, and
which are very numerous now. It's mind blowing.
Oh, I got another way that they market them.
Okay.
They do them by color. When they grade them, they'll put them in a all white case, or they'll put them in a clear case, or a black case. I've got
a picture of one in the magazine.
I've got some of each, and I don't try to collect by cases.
Now that black case really made that coin stand out.
It does.
And they've got one more brand new one. They've got a silver case that they say really makes the coin stand out. So I don't have that at all.
I'd love to see one of those.
The contrast of the black.
This
really.
is just a good looking case.
You do like that, okay?
I do.
Well, if I never did pay a lot of attention to that, but I'm usually reading all the other details they put in.
If I were walking down a line at a show, that would catch my eye.
The black one would. Okay. Well, that may be what because they're about the same price when you're buying when you're buying them. So I might concentrate on getting a few more black ones, but I do want to get the silver one. So I've got an example of that one. I mean, I'm collecting examples more so than trying to get every one of the different ways that they can market it, because I can't keep up with that.
Right. If you've got examples, you've got something for educational.
And you were talking about bulk price differences. I've found a thing in the magazine here where it has these are I assume the loose ones that are in a plastic envelope are $20.70 each if you buy 1 to 4, but if you're ordering more than 20, they're $19.65 each, which is $1.05 savings if you're buying more than 20.
All right. Say I wanted to get one for. I've got 2 or 3 grandkids. Yeah. And I wanted to get one of those. Then the easiest way to do would be get on the internet and go to the government site.
Let me tell everybody what that was, because I looked it up. It's usmint.gov. You can always tell it's a real United States government website because it ends with .gov.
Right.
All right. Yeah. That's good. And then I get on that website and I go down to what I wanted to pay for a coin. I know I'm going to get fair market value because that's what they sell them basically to every other small buyer. Now, if you they do have, and I know they have it. I just never have seen they have brokers that buy in bulk.
So they'll buy several thousand. Or
They'll
something.
buy hundreds of thousands.
Okay.
They may buy $100,000 increments of coins, and they get a discount. So, you know, if they market something on eBay, that could be slightly lower than the government would put it out.
Or then you could buy it straight from the government, maybe.
But what you
If you're only buying 2 or 3.
what you see on eBay usually on these coins is you'll see they'll either do it buy now, you know,
Right.
or they'll have a minimum on it, and then when you watch the bidding goes, it goes way on up. So I try to stay out of that as much as I can.
Yeah.
But sometimes I get hooked. I see one that I just got to have, you know.
There's always that one.
There you go.
I've done that with some pictures before and regretted it
And
later.
I'm trying to get David to get me that 1995.
Just don't tell him to do the bidding for
Keep
you.
working on it. Yeah.
Well,
'Cause you know what he'll
problem
do.
is he'll charge it to me.
That's what I'm saying. Don't let him bid for you
I get
on that.
a question here. So, what's the difference? Is a silver proof coin the same as what we have here, what you're showing, or?
A proof coin means that it basically if you had it graded, it's going to grade out.
Okay.
An MS-63 to a MS-70, it's as good as you're going to
gonna
get.
grade very
It's
well.
probably it's just as good as these graded coins, just as good, but it's not graded.
But now you're paying a premium for it being a proof, right? Or wrong?
Not a lot. You're paying more. Yeah, you're paying more for in a way, but when you get them and they're uncirculated, and you're getting them straight from the mint,
You can't do no better than that.
they're close. They're at proof.
Right.
If you graded that coin, it's going to come out probably MS-63, which means that they've stamped a bunch of them and it's not first strike stuff.
So you're just as well to go to this site and buy them straight from the mint.
Yeah, especially if you
Better
get
off, really.
because they go up in value a little bit. You know, so you're going to pay more next year for that same coin. You get on an average. If you look up, you might look up and find one cheaper, but on an average, you'll probably pay a little bit more, or at least the same the next year.
Right.
You give it 4 or 5 years from then, and they go up considerably. You know, most of these slab coins were $35 back 7 or 8 years ago when I started collecting them to $40. I can't buy one now for less than 75 of the kind I buy.
No way in the world you're going to do that with money in the bank.
So in 5 years between 5 and 10 years, it's doubled or tripled its value.
No way you're going to do that with interest.
No, and that's the reason why I like people to stay with U.S. currency. Stay with something that's graded and slabbed, if you can afford it. And you can get those pretty cheap. Did you see some of the slab coins were down they were down into the $30 range.
Yeah. Back to my.
Okay, and
They were less than that, actually. Yeah.
okay, now with that, we'll hold that thought again, and we'll be right back with you.
Hello, I'm Pick and Rick T from CFC, best place to get you used auto parts and all types of metals to repurpose for your needs. Just take a drive down 55, see this handsome guy, stop on by. Check out our computer for hundreds of autos to locate the make and the model of the part you need. $2 fee is all you pay. Sign in and get a hand stamp, it's good for all day. Bring in your tools, get the parts you need pulled, and use a wheelbarrow to lighten the load. Pay for your parts, prices you'll be fond of. Each part's price the same, Chevy or Honda. Get exchange warranty for 30 days too. Swap out the parts you don't need for the parts that you do. Happy picking!
My name's John Hirschman. I'm one of the original 6 owners of P&H Rentals. Started the company 30 years ago when we saw a need for individual, construction, industrial, and commercial storage. We have trailers and containers for lease and sell. Our physical location is 2947 Old Manchester Highway, Tullahoma, Tennessee. My phone number is area code 931-273-4252.
The Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester has been voted as having the best hamburgers in Manchester. Hometown atmosphere, historical memorabilia, and of course those great burgers, salads, chicken, and so much more. It's the Jiffy Burger on the Hillsborough Boulevard in Manchester. Call in orders at 728-4452. You can also order at the convenient outdoor curb service. Hamburgers are made the old-fashioned way at the Jiffy Burger, Manchester's finest hamburgers. Open 7:30 until 9, Monday through Saturday.
We would like to thank Dr. David Florence for supporting Let's Talk Antiques. See Dr. Florence at 804 Kalon Street in Manchester for all of your medical needs. Call 728-5522 for your appointment today. Most insurances accepted.
I hope y'all are as excited as we are. We've been sitting here having a heated conversation while we've been gone about the difference between proofs and authenticated, and are certified and graded. And John's gonna hopefully shed us a little more light on that.
Okay, our least expensive coins probably in the $23. There was some in the $23 range,
yeah.
And when they do, they'll come proof and authenticated. And that means that the U.S. Mint just authenticates that they made the coin. They'll send it to you in some kind of holder or sometimes a box, and they're guaranteed it's never been in circulation.
And you said they come with a certificate of authenticity.
Yeah, a certificate, and that's called authenticated. And then. What was the other term we were going to use?
We were talking about proofs, graded and certified.
The proof's the same way. It just never has been in circulation. They can sell it to you as a proof because they know where it came from.
Right.
Okay.
You can go to the pawn shop and buy something. They can tell you it's proof.
But you don't know that.
You don't know.
No.
And you can't buy these from banks anymore. Is that true?
Maybe some banks. I know First National Bank used to up about probably 5 years ago. We used to go up there and just buy them from them.
Now, when the state coins were coming out, they used to hold us, 2 or 3 rows of each state.
Yeah.
However, when they came out.
Yeah. Some of the local banks will work
so
with you. They'll probably
do that for you.
If you don't. They'll probably get them for you. I mean, they're pretty good about that.
Oh, they're
and
about that.
My brother Terry and I used to buy ours from First National Bank when I first started several years ago, and I don't know if they've stopped that service or not.
Yeah, well, let me tell you
that was a good one.
Here's a good one. You want to talk about a good one now? When the first few states started coming out, I had them holding me several rows. I was getting a row for me, a row for my mother, a row for David, But what David never said was Mark was getting him a row, and you were probably getting him a row.
No, I wasn't.
Well, and he was probably getting some himself.
Yeah.
So he was making out like a bandit.
That's David. He'll never tell you he's getting them from 3 different sources.
No.
Yeah, I gave him that commemorative Trump coin. I gave him one of those the other day.
That's neat. I like that coin.
And you got to watch. China they can make a coin that looks so authentic that it's unbelievable.
And if I hadn't read Trump, I'd have never guessed.
The back of that coin looks like a U.S. Stamp coin.
Yeah.
And it's not. It's made in China.
That's why I couldn't tell you when you first handed it to me. I didn't know.
I bought it for $1.
Yeah.
But I bought several of them. I got it out.
You can't go wrong doing that.
Well, it's just a novelty, and that's what you get into if you don't stay with something that's authenticated, or this is worth $1. Somebody else might think that's because they can make them. They could put anybody's head on that same coin.
Yeah.
And they don't know whether that's plated or it's plated to make it look like gold.
Right.
It's not.
Plated.
It's not.
I've got a drawer full of stuff like that in German money. I got a lot of German.
You got another
coins.
question?
Now, just say I ran across on these the government or the government.com website it says a 24 karat black obverse and reverse black ruthenium edition, and it's like all the background on the silver dollar is black, and the I guess the lady, the sun, and the eagle are all gold.
What do you think about that coin?
It looks really nice.
Is it pretty?
Yes, it's very pretty, but it makes me wonder if it's real or
it's real. But it's another
about.
way for the government to market that coin.
So that is something that would make you want to stop and speak with the guy that's got it.
Well,
about.
and there's a lot of other type paintings that they do on these coins to get somebody to buy them. It doesn't add to the value of them much. You know, that's probably gold inlaid or clad, however you want.
Yes, it's
whatever
gold clad.
term you want.
Yeah.
Whatever term you want to use for it.
That's what it is.
It's so thin. The gold is not even.
You can put a pretty thin layer of gold on it to.
Yeah, but it's beautiful.
But it looks very nice.
But they paint rainbows on them. They have artists do different things. It's another way of marketing it. Just like and I had another guy that jumped into the signing these when you have them certified, and that's U.S. Treasurer has even
oh wow!
signed,
Now that would be different.
Signed some of them. I forget which one has signed them, but they've even jumped in. I mean, any way they can market it, the government's going to do it. They're making, they're making more off the coin. They're making what all the dealers and everybody else would normally get on collectors, and they're making a collector value piece of art.
And they're putting money in the treasury.
And it goes back to the treasury.
Yeah.
So we've really covered a lot.
Yeah, we've got a lot of information on this one.
And but if I was entry level, or if I was a parent or a grandparent, I'd get my kid one of these and save it for them when they turned 18 years old. Give them the collection. You can get into it for, roughly. You could probably get into it for about less than $50, somewhere around $50 a coin, if you get the ones that aren't authenticated and aren't proof.
Me, that was something I would safeguard. I would take care of, and that teaches children a lot.
Just look at me. If I had been collecting in '95, which I wasn't.
If you'd been started out as a kid by somebody like yourself.
That one coin, when I started looking at it almost 10 years ago, it was going to run me $3,500. So I said, hey, I'm not spending that for it. But at the time it sold for less than $50 from the U.S. government.
If you only knew what you knew now.
Yeah. So now I'd say the government's printing a lot more volume-wise than they ever have of these Silver Eagles.
Now, you talk about building wealth.
So if you're doing a collectible collection, you want to go back to 1986 and come forward.
See, of course, right now it'd be a lot harder to do than it would have been, say, 40, 50 years ago.
eBay just opens the world up to you that you can get any of these coins off of eBay. Any of them.
True. Yeah.
Okay, y'all, well, we have to sit here and talked away another hour. Is there any last words or advice you have for a novice collector like myself?
Well, if anyone wants to ask any questions, and we haven't even asked anybody to call in for ask questions, they can get a hold of Ronnie or any of you guys and David, and I'll be glad to help them value a collection or tell them what something's worth to the best of my ability.
Yeah, or if y'all want to go to Facebook, I'll post Philip's number in bold letters for you so you can call him.
Yeah.
And I've got different ways to help grade and your whether it's the collectability is going to be and the value is going to be on the grading of the coin.
Okay.
That's what I've tried to get across today. It's all about grade and authenticity of that coin.
Well, John, we appreciate you building with us, but our producer is telling us we've got to go. So
We'll do it again
Will
next
you?
week. Let's
There you
Talk
go.
Antiques airs on Thunder Radio.